We missed last week's podcast. Our schedules just didn't match up. But obviously, Jack Doohan no longer racing at Alpine. He was switched out for Jack Colapinto, or Franco Colapinto, excuse me. Sorry.
Be crazy if Jack got replaced with
Jack versus Jack, yeah. Jack
it's
Doohan
a real Jack off.
Was...
I had to. It was
Gosh,
right
darn
there.
It, Nick.
It was right
Nick.
there.
And speaking of getting the party started.
For the victory lap, though. They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I stress overcome, what for? Train under trees, please pardon my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross lands, and stormy shore seasons in the year, yeah. Switch gears, we keeping haters in the rear. At the blood, sweat, and tears, and my goal so near. I see my victory so clear. I see my victory so clear. And today, we break through. 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 And today, we break through.
Oh, are we live? There was no countdown on the screen. It just
Now
kind
we're
of...
live.
We're live now?
Yeah.
We're 10 seconds into this thing. You're saying we're live now, Nick?
No, we're now we're 10 seconds into this thing. There was a countdown. You just weren't looking.
No, I was looking. There was no countdown in the middle of the screen. Are you telling me we are now live, Nick?
We are now live, and I am not responsible for the platform that we use because I am not an engineer
Nick,
on the software
if
side.
you are going to tell me, all right, get ready to get your broadcasting chops on, you got to tell me when I'm live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode... What episode are we on, Nick?
71.
71. Welcome to the Evgeny Malkin episode of the Gridiron Podcast. I am Sean Barry. Joining me tonight, as always, is our resident NFL.com talent writer, Nick Shook, the bald behemoth who's flexing on us. Katie, our Canadian queen, has the weekend off because she's our American queen this week. She's in the U.S. She's stateside. She's on vacation.
Hopefully nobody
Confiscated her phone or
with power listen to this podcast and track her down. We're not going to tell you where she is among the 50 states, but she is stateside.
She is definitely not totally cool, dude. She's not.
She's totally
She's
like,
not
nah,
totally
dude.
radical, bro.
Nah, bro. She's not even like there, dude.
No,
like, what even
bro.
is time, dude?
That's North Carolina. That's a North Carolina accent, right?
Saw, dude. I don't know.
Oh, bro, yeah. Anyway, this is episode 71 of the Gridiron Podcast. If you are new here, what we do is we talk about Formula One and football. Those are our two loves. If it sounds like I don't have much of a voice tonight, it's because I don't. It's because Tottenham Hotspur, my football club, won the Europa League Championship tonight. Just got to get that out there. So I spent the afternoon screaming, so I'm going to let Nick take over at times tonight. But we will talk about Formula One and football tonight, Nick, because we are coming off the back of a pretty decent race, honestly, at Imola.
A couple of decent races, really, if you think about it. But especially
and honestly, the funny part is that Imola is just known to be a bad racetrack. It's known to be a racetrack where you can't pass, and honestly, at times, cars going side by side that didn't even fit on the track together. So to actually watch a pretty decent race, partly because of safety cars, partly because of strategy, but a decent race nonetheless, is interesting from Imola. We're also going to talk a little NFL. We have some breaking news from the world of the NFL today, and that is that grown men can indeed push each other in the tush for at least another year longer.
Hands on butts.
By the way, I forgot to plug our socials. If you are on social media, find us at Gridiron Pod. That's at Gridiron Pod on Instagram. And then if you like to email us, you can find us at The Gridiron Podcast 3. That's The Gridiron Podcast 3. Damn those other two. At gmail.com. Send us an email. Nick is counting with his toes because, just look at him, folks. Do you think he can count to 10? There we go.
That's one of the best burns ever.
Shots fired, folks.
Oh, that was fantastic.
All right, let's get into Imola talk, though. So, since I was apparently muted at some point, your starting grid at Imola was P1, Oscar Piastri, P2, Max Verstappen, P3, George Russell, and then P4, Lando Norris. There were your four kind of contenders for the win. I hate telling people that George Russell was a contender for a win, but maybe at some point this season.
He's been in the mix all year.
He really has. I mean, aside from this race, he has finished top 5 every single race this season. Mercedes did not do well at Imola. We're not really going to talk about them a lot. What we're going to talk about is McLaren and then Max Verstappen. And a little bit about Ferrari, because kind of got to give them flowers. You know? A little bit. They deserve at least a flower. Or
some
two,
flowers.
maybe a petal.
And some criticism.
Right? You know, when you come home, it's Valentine's Day, you see some petals on the floor, you're like, ooh, I'm going to get romance tonight. That was Ferrari.
What a PC way of saying that,
That
Sean.
was a
Good
Ferrari. That was Ferrari.
Going to get romance.
We are
like
going to get romance. Ferrari romance the Tifosi this
Click
weekend.
try for baby.
Try for podium.
There we go.
So, Nick, you're the resident Max Verstappen Red Bull fan. Tell us about turn 1, lap 1, please.
Well, okay. I have something else I want to tell you, but first, you'll go to that. Max Verstappen. So the weird thing about Imola is P1 is actually on technically what you would consider the outside, and it's the outside, but you're actually on the inside by the time you hit the first turn. But like when you look at it from where they start, because the straight curves to the right, you're actually kind of on the inside. Like P2's on the inside, P1's kind of on the outside, even though the grid position is ahead, which is what they do to compensate for the fact that it does sweep right before going left. That didn't matter because Max Verstappen just went full send on the first lap, and I don't know what happened with Oscar Piastri, because he is what we've agreed at this point, the more competent or aggressive, better battler of a race car driver than Lando Norris from McLaren. He was super passive into that section of the track all race, and
I don't want to say
especially
he
in this
was
moment.
Passive as much as, like, let's give Max his flowers on this, because that pass was ungodly, just
Around
great.
the outside.
Around the outside at a narrow track, at a circuit where you're not supposed to be able to pass. I almost feel like Max was like, if I crash, whatever. Like, he's got his 4 world championships. He's going to go down. At this point in his career, he's like, if I crash, I don't care. And I feel like that was the kind of mantra he took into that turn.
Yeah, full send into the chicane, wins the outside, sticks the landing. If he was a gymnast, that's essentially what happened, is he stuck the landing, and then hits the other side of the chicane and just bang, right out, perfect exit, didn't go wide, and basically dominated the race from there. And, you know, Sean, I don't know what it was about what Red Bull's done to their car. I know that he had a narrower nose than previously. If you compared it to Yuki's car, you could see the differences. But suddenly Red Bull looks like a legitimately competitive car again. I mean, this is a track. Now, mind you, there are technical portions of this track that would call for a little bit more downforce, a little bit of a driver more dialed into his car. It's not a straight speed circuit necessarily like the other Italian track, Monza. But still, there were moments where you're like, McLaren's got the fastest car on the track, and they are not catching up at all. Like, he pulled away very quickly. They even bunch up later in a safety car, and he pulls away out of that too, and they never had a shot at catching him. So clearly some improvements to that car. I think they're dialing it more toward Max's preferences again, and he puts together a phenomenal race. His most impressive win, like Suzuka was impressive, I think this was more impressive because he was in complete control from start to finish, basically in the second turn of this entire race, and looked like the Max Verstappen of old.
So I want to pose this question, Nick. Does Oscar Piastri, current World Drivers' Championship leader, does he have a problem going into turn 1? Does he have any? I'm just asking the question, Nick. Does he?
No, I know
does
you're
Oscar
trying to.
Piastri, is he not confident going into turn 1, lap 1? Does he have a problem? Do we need to talk about this at all, Nick?
In this race, he looked like he had a confidence issue, yeah, but it's not a demonstrated issue
I don't
over
know,
multiple
Nick.
circuits.
You know, he just let Max drive right by him. I think Oscar has a problem. Lap 1, turn 1.
Oh, shut up, Lando defender.
I think Oscar is just not able
Lando
to
couldn't do
that.
it on 6 different tracks last year.
I'll tell you what, though. I don't think Oscar knew Max was going to come. I think Oscar kind of banked on the fact that this is such a narrow track that we cannot fit 2 cars.
This is safe. I'm taking the inside
by side
here. Yeah.
And he just did not think he would do it. And I think if I'm Oscar, I'm going, noted. Okay. I learned something today.
Yeah.
Because he can. Like, he knows he has a future ahead of him. Like, he knows
And
that.
he's young.
Yes. He's like, okay, noted. Did not think you were going to do that. If that's what it takes to be a world champion, that's what I'll do. That's what I'll recognize, and that's what I'll look for next time. I think Oscar is continuously learning. Oscar wound up finishing P3 because he was on older tires. Lando passed him later on in the race. But you're right. Max just was in complete control of this race, even during multiple safety cars this race. But I'll tell you what, I think that says more about this current formula than anything else. I think this is the perfect year to wean out this set of regulations, because next year we get a whole new set of regulations. So who knows who's going to be where in the pecking order. The point that I'm trying to make is, though, it's very hard to kind of follow. Like, remember when these regulations kind of came about a couple of years ago? The whole point of the shorter car, lower wing, wider wing, all that stuff was supposed to make it easier for cars to follow one another and then therefore pass each other. That's not happening anymore, because the more time you give these teams to kind of tweak with the cars and make them as best as they can, that's going to make it then harder for you to pass. So right now, key to all this is clean air. It's not downforce.
Yep.
It's not engine supplier. It is clean air.
And
if
why is
you
that,
have
Sean?
clean air, you are golden. And that, you're right, that Red Bull car is not bad. It hasn't been bad, really, all year. You've just had Max Verstappen driving one of those cars, and then Liam Lawson driving the other, and Yuki Tsunoda then replacing Liam Lawson. So I don't think that Red Bull is bad. I think on any given weekend that Red Bull is about as good as a Mercedes or a Ferrari. I really do.
It's so inconsistent. It's so hit or miss, because like Miami, he puts down a great
but it's
lap.
not a bad car. And can we agree, though,
Okay,
that
that's
those
fair.
top,
Yeah, that's
those
fine.
top 4 and or 5 cars, they're closer to each other than they've ever been before.
Absolutely. And I think that we're just holding the Red Bull to a higher standard because they've been so dominant over the last few years. So like the fact that they're not keeping up with McLaren on a week-by-week basis has made you think, maybe, losing Adrian Newey really has burned them. But that's what makes a weekend like this so impressive. Because, like, you go to Miami and Max gets fastest lap. Like, they have a great one-lap car. But sometimes the quality setup doesn't translate to the race day. And, like, he had no shot in that race in Miami. Like, even when he was defending his ass off for a few laps, but ultimately he really didn't have much of a shot. Whereas the opposite happened here, where he doesn't start on pole. He wins the P1 into the first legitimate turn of the entire race, and then just cruises off into the sunset. And you're right, though, about clean air. Clean air definitely matters. When you're out in front, you can build those gaps. McLaren made it kind of interesting with each other. They also were the victims of some slow stops. Oscar got a slow stop early. Lando got a slow stop late, both with wheel issues, like getting the wheel off, putting the wheel on. They were not clean in the pit in this race. But yeah, ultimately, Max I just looked at it and I was like, man, maybe they fixed their aero and they're just going to be this good, or maybe it's just a track by track thing. And that's what's going to make this whole season extremely captivating. And it wasn't a bad day for McLaren to get P2, P3. Those are solid points for the constructors, which they're going to win. I think
McLaren have been downplaying their performance all season, and honestly, rightfully so. And I've been saying this since preseason testing. Like, we are so used to over the past. When did 2009? That's when Braun GP won that one-off title, right? 2009, I think.
Yeah.
Since then, Red Bull went on a run, Mercedes went on a run, Red Bull went on a run. We're so used to the best car being so dominant that when we see a car win a race, we're like, ooh, that's the most dominant car. They should win every race. That's not what racing is supposed to be. Come back to planet Earth with me for a little bit, guys. Come on. Come back here. It's okay. We have a series now where 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 cars can win a race on any given weekend. Come back to planet Earth.
Is there water on planet Earth, Sean?
Is the Pope American?
For the first time, yes.
Yes. There we go. Right.
Get himself a little Italian beef over in Chicago.
Does the Pope like tomatoes on his hot dogs?
Bears. Unfortunately, he's a fan of the wrong baseball team in Chicago right now, but that's neither here nor there. Sean, before we move forward, let me show you something I picked up this week. You're going to enjoy this a lot.
Ooh, okay. He's got a Kent State cap on. There we go. Go Flashes, baby.
Go Flashes. Come to Kent State. Just keeping this on for the rest of the show.
Get Lou Holtz to do that. We're both Kent State alums, if you couldn't tell.
Let's get Nick Saban to do it.
I really wish he would just come back and coach, since our coach
He
was
won't.
fired for abusing campus
Credit
cards. Yeah,
Taking
it's a weird thing to get
money
fired
from
for.
donors. Yeah.
I'm sure
Dude.
there's nothing shady about that. at
No,
all.
that was it. That was the full extent of his
shady about
infractions. Yes,
being
totally.
tens of thousands of dollars into debt, with
Can we talk about the prancing horses? Because you just mentioned it.
I'm sorry. Can you take the hat off? Like I can't with the hat. No.
You don't like it?
No, I do. It's just like I'm used to looking at you bald. Leave the hat on. Leave the hat on. You look great.
Oh, thanks, sweetheart.
You look great.
Thanks, sweetheart. I
Prancing
appreciate
That's
it.
better. There we go. Backwards cap. Prancing ponies. Go ahead.
I think it actually looks worse, but okay, it makes my ears look bigger. They're already huge. They are. Big ears, big nose, big arms. You know what they say about that? Big shirts. Okay. So Ferrari. That car, you talked about the competition at the front of the pack. That car starting to look kind of good. There was a period there where they were, I think the last 20 laps or so, where they were pushing the hell out of the car, and they were ripping through that same first chicane on that track. And I'm like, God damn. Like, I hate the HP logos in the back, but that Ferrari looks good when it's moving. And Lewis Hamilton was slicing and dicing his way through the field. You want to talk about some overtakes that were impressive? He had a couple of them right there where I was just like,
For a
wow,
team
there's Lewis.
that was on home soil in Italy and got knocked down in Q2, both of them in Q2. You were setting yourself up for an all-time just awful weekend. If you remember Ferrari back in 2020 when they finished 6th in the championship. Ferrari 6th. This weekend kind of reminded me of that, and it was surprisingly good. What did they finish? 4th and 5th?
4th and 6th because Leclerc forced Albon off the track.
That's
on
right.
The penultimate lap, and had to give the position back. Albon, by the way, Williams P5. Let's go. Williams double points.
Guys, come on.
You're back.
Like, look, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but give Williams their flowers too. And the funny thing is, I sent you this meme today is because Williams, they're white and blue. Ferrari have now switched their overalls to white and blue for the Monaco Grand Prix coming up here. If you can't beat them, join them, folks.
Yeah, I mean, my God. I look, the story of Williams since they had money injected into them by Drilliton Capital, they have slowly but steadily, under the leadership of James Vowles, become a legitimate midfield team. And that's such a far cry from where they were 5 years ago. They were the last team in the grid by a mile. Like, didn't have
Easily.
a shot. George Russell was moved to tears because he finished in the points because the race at Spa was a glorified parade because of rain. And he cried afterward because they got points.
Do you remember when George Russell was racing next to Robert Kubica?
Yes.
Just like they had the butterfly steering wheel because they couldn't afford
They didn't
to have
have a screen on the
screens
steering
on
wheel.
their steering wheel.
Everybody else did, not them. No money. Mom and pop shop, get some outside capital, and now look at what some money can do for you. So good weekend for them. But yeah, Ferrari, like I'm happy that Lewis finishes P4 in a race in Italy for the team. I'm happy that Charles finishes 6th, even though he probably could have finished higher. And that was the first time with Lewis in a Ferrari where I actually saw like the old Lewis Hamilton. The couple of overtakes that he made into that first turn were vintage Lewis Hamilton. Late on the brakes, sticks the landing right through, made it look easy.
I think we saw a little bit of that last week in Miami too. Like,
yep.
This was Lewis is still there, but like Ferrari is not there, if you know what I mean.
Well, and that's part of their issue is that they mismanaged tires because with about 17 laps to go, there's a safety car and Charles wants to come in for a fresh set. And they get on the radio before he even gets to radio in, and they tell him, hey, we can't stop because we don't have any tires left. He goes, what about the medium? There's 17 laps left, Charles. First he said, what about, I think the soft would be good here. And they go, there's 17 laps left. And he goes, how much do we have left in the mediums? 11 laps. And then it's just silence. It's like, how do you fuck that up? Like,
well,
how do you fuck that up?
It's Ferrari. I don't know what else you want me to tell you, Nick. It's Ferrari. But give me
Also,
the flowers, though, again, because what a comeback. And I know partly that was because of a safety car, but at the same time, like, they had a successful weekend on the whole. We can talk about how slow they were during qualifying, And that is something that is going to crop up again. But, like, hey, from where they've kind of been and what they did this weekend, it wasn't too bad.
Which brings me to my next question, Sean. If you were a team principal or you were on the engineering side of a team and it came down to Saturday, would you... You're in Parc Ferme once you're in quali, right? So, like, you can't make much in the way of adjustments. Would you strategize your car around... Obviously, the answer would be, I'm going to find the happy medium. But if you had to choose one or the other, would you go for the best hot lap setup or would you go for the best race setup? Because Ferrari looks so much better in the race than they did in quali. And sometimes those things can be closer than other times.
See, that's a loaded question, though, because you asked me what would you do on Saturday. I would set my car up for the best lap, for the best one-lap performance.
There's your answer. Yeah.
But on Sunday, it's a completely different setup. We're talking about an entire 70
but
or
once
whatever
you go
it is
into
lap
quali,
race.
you're in park. Like you're pretty much restricted from there. You can change wing angles, but like you can't completely redo the entire thing. Like that's part of the whole weekend strategy. So it's like, I just look at some of the way that some of these teams have performed over recent weeks. I think about Max setting that lap in Miami and then struggling in the race. I think about Ferrari doing the opposite, and it's like, it's almost like it's magnified more now than it was in previous years, or at least near the top of the field, the front of the grid.
Yeah, there's some, I don't want to say fishy, but there's just something weird going on with these cars that I still don't think, and I still think teams are trying to kind of figure them out. And we're in year 4? Under this formula, these regulations, like I still think teams are kind of figuring it out, and they're going to have to figure out a whole new regulation next year. Go ahead.
My remaining thoughts on this. I had a come to Jesus moment today when I watched the race. Not once did it register in my mind that Esteban Ocon is driving for Haas until he was parked in the grass on the side of the road in this race. Like I see a Haas pull over and I go, oh, who's that? And who's that? And then the name pops up and it's Esteban Ocon. And I was like, oh.
You forgot Esteban Ocon raced for Haas.
I forgot he was on the team.
Guys, I know I started this podcast by saying, hi, welcome to the Gridiron Podcast. We talk about Formula One and football. Apparently, Nick Shook doesn't know who drives in Formula One.
Well, that leads me to my next point, which is... all right, so a lot has happened in my life over the last year and a half, and especially over the last couple of months. So I've experienced some burnout in various areas, and I'm trying to keep my head above water. And it has extended in some areas to the sport I cover for a living, which is football, and also to F1. I used to look forward to F1 races on Sunday morning, sit down with my coffee and watch them. Sometimes it's a bit of a chore to get them in right now, or at least it has been in recent months. I rediscovered my love for Formula One watching the race tonight because I queue it up on AirPlay because I didn't have like a Chromecast on the TV in my living room here. So I played through AirPlay, and for some reason, I don't know why, and I may never know why, the audio is like one side. The commentary is completely gone, and it's just race sounds and driver radio. And oh my God, was it the purest, most magical viewing experience I've had.
That's a way to watch a race.
F1. It was incredible. And I'm sitting there like not like doing my own commentary like a kid pretending to be a broadcaster, but just be like reacting to things like, oh, it's a hell of a pass, Lewis. Oh, shit, stick the landing. Like, oh, God, wow, you're not great on that. Why are you going to those tires? Oh, slow stop. Oh, look at that. They're going through the... Oh, no, now he's out. Oh, poor Kimi Antonelli. Like, I'm just sitting there reacting organically. I have rediscovered what brought me to racing. I have rediscovered my love for the competition of the sport. And maybe it's because I'm just like super ADD and like the commentary fills too much and it like distracts me and takes me out of the zone. But I was dialed into this entire race replay. And I remembered everything so much better because of it.
Can we just real quick? So we missed last week's podcast. Our schedules just didn't match up. But obviously, Jack Doohan no longer racing at Alpine. He was switched out for Jack Colapinto or Franco Colapinto, excuse me. Sorry.
Be crazy if Jack got replaced with Jack.
Versus Jack, yeah. Jack
it's Doohan a real Jack off. I had to. It was right
darn
there.
It, Nick.
It was right there.
Nicholas. Even though your name is not Nicholas. It's legally Nick.
It is legally Nick.
It's legally Nick. That's weird. Anyway, Franco Colapinto switched in for Jack Doohan, and Franco Colapinto spins out and crashes out. There was a camera shot where Jack Doohan just kind of looked at the camera and smiled.
Oh, yes, I love those.
And immediately it caught fire on social media. And so many people came to his defense and said, no, that was from earlier. That was from earlier. And then people had to clarify, no, that was in response to the crash. I love that. I love that a teammate was like, you switched me out for that guy and he crashed? Okay. Hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lean in. And they pulled the plug on him so quickly, too. Like, I understand he wasn't performing.
Not that he showed them anything good.
Yeah, but still, like, you're not going to get deep into the competition. Why not give the kids some more time to race? Although, we applied the opposite logic to Liam Lawson, but that's because everybody hates Liam Lawson. He's the Draco Malfoy of F1, so everybody hates him.
Liam Lawson. Real quick, we're going to Monaco this week. The most glamorous, most prestigious, most... Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Boring race on the calendar. Nick, wake up. Wake up, Nick.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. We have a 70-lap parade to attend in Monaco this weekend. Look, we're not going to talk about whether it deserves to be on the calendar or not. I think that's kind of... That horse is long, dead, and beaten. Let's just give our predictions here. Because, and I will say this is the greatest race weekend of the year. You got Monaco Grand Prix if you're in the U.S. You got the Monaco Grand Prix in the morning. You've got the Indy 500 in the afternoon. And you got the Coke 600 at night. I don't know what else you want. If you're a motorsports fan, this Sunday, Memorial Day weekend in the U.S.
is Coke 600, is that at Daytona?
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Yes.
Why did I think it was Daytona? What's the one what's
Daytona?
the other one that they run at Daytona or Talladega?
Wrong?
Let's Google it. This is why we have the Google machines at our fingertips. They are at Charlotte.
Okay, yes, Charlotte.
I swear it used to be at Daytona, but I think
there was a different race called it was called something else, also sponsored by
something
Coca-Cola.
else 600. It might have been like the Conrad 600 or something like that.
Clearly not NASCAR fans here. Kyle Larson, by the way,
well,
trying to do
like
the double
15,
again this
ago.
year. I think he's just trying to become the fourth person to do the double ever, which is 1,100 miles driven in one day. He's doing the Indy 500 and then the Coke 600. He technically did not do it last year.
I'm not wrong. There's the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona. Damn you, Coke. Damn you, Big Soda, for confusing me and making me look like a buffoon.
Quick aside. If I may approach the bench. Quick bar. Quick side.
Approved.
Yes. So my first job in sports was working in Quincy, Illinois, in market, I think it was 172 at the time. Anyway, it was an NBC affiliate. We had the Coke, what was it, Coke Sugar 400, you said?
Coke Zero Sugar
400. We had the Coke Zero
Why do we add sugar there? That's just Coke Zero.
Yeah. Coke Zero, back then it was called Coke Zero Sugar 400. And there was a rain delay, and the race did not start until I don't know what hour. We were told by our bosses, go live on air following the race. Do you know what time we went on air, Nick?
2 a.m.
2:03.
Oh, it was close. Price is Right rules.
Who is watching the 11 o'clock news at 2:03? And then we had to be back at work at 9 a.m.
Honestly, I would watch the 11 o'clock news at 2:03, but that's because I'm a psychopath.
That's neither here nor there. Good luck to Kyle Larson, who is going to attempt to do the double this year, the Indy 500, and then he's going to fly to Charlotte and do the Coke 600.
Oh, real Deion Sanders in him.
Well, he tried to do it last year. Unfortunately, there was a rain delay at the Indy 500. He finished the Indy 500, flew to Charlotte, but then joined the race while it was like halfway in progress. And according to NASCAR rules, if you do not complete a race or don't participate in a race for the start, you don't qualify for the playoffs. He got a playoff exemption for it because how are you going to exclude a multi-race winner, former Cup Series champion? It's Kyle Larson. Come on.
Who's he racing for in the Indy 500?
McLaren.
They have 1 billion seats.
Yes, there you go. They got 4 cars. So McLaren likes to do that a bunch. They bring in other cars, other drivers. They have 5 cars. They've got Pato O'Ward, Christian Lundgaard, Nolan Siegel. Their team principal, Nick, is racing. Tony Kanaan. Yes.
Oh, well, he used to race. So
exactly. But he is now their team principal, and he's like, the Indy 500 is like that. You can bring drivers out of retirement.
So cool.
It is. It's so cool. So Tony Kanaan is racing, and then Kyle Larson. And it's so cool, Nick, if I can get on my little Indy 500 soapbox here, because it has been, and always will be the greatest spectacle in racing. The front row, Nick, is made up of Robert Schwartzman, who is a rookie in IndyCar, former Ferrari reserve driver, driving for Prema Racing, a rookie team in F1. He is your pole sitter. Behind him, Takuma Sato, former F1 driver, 2-time Indy 500 winner, and this is the only race he is running this year. He just came out for the Indy 500, and he stuck it on the front row.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, first off, congratulations to you, sir. That's a hell of a performance. But also, do you remember when Jimmy Johnson had an IndyCar stint?
Yeah.
So I Googled him.
It's not that great. It wasn't that great.
But he's going to be racing his 700th race this weekend in NASCAR. Because for some reason after that, he went back to NASCAR, yeah.
He's a team owner now. So he must just be doing this one-off race, yeah. And
in classic fashion, instead of being the 48, he's the 84. All right, we digest.
And we digest. Let's get our Monaco predictions, Nick. I don't even know.
Well,
throw something at the wall.
If there's one weekend that defines the question I asked you earlier, which is, as I hold a twist tie in my hand, I don't know why. Which was, would you take quali pace or race pace? This is the weekend where quali wins the race, unless you send it into the wall, fire it into the wall, Nicholas Latifi style. Usually, if you win in quali, you're going to, wherever you are in quali is where you're going to finish, because it is a goddamn parade. So I'm going to take Max, because Max has been a quali demon this season. Set the fastest lap track record at Suzuka, right? Flirted with the track record at Miami. Didn't get P1 at Imola, but won the race. I like the way the car looks, and I like the way he appears to be in control of the car. We're going to go Max P1. Oscar Piastri gets back on the horse this week, P2. Lando Norris. No. Lewis Hamilton, P3.
Ooh.
I'm feeling the Lewis momentum building. I wish Katie was here, but Lewis is building momentum.
I want to go Lando P1 just because I feel like if there's a race he's going to win, it might be Monaco, because it's just kind of like that weird technical race you got to win on Saturday. But even now, Oscar is starting to, because that was the knock on him, right? Like, hey, Lando's faster over one lap. I don't know about that anymore, but
there was a period where Oscar was ahead of Lando. Lando was battling, and he pulled more than a second gap to over Lando in one lap in this past race. I would agree that Oscar is the faster driver.
That being said, I'm going to go Lando P1, Oscar P2, and I will go Charles to finish P3 on his home race.
Okay, that's fair.
Lando's got to get one of these, like, at some point, right? Like, it just can't be all Oscar and Max.
No. Didn't he get one? No. He's gotten one already this year.
Yeah, he started the season off like, yep, Summer of Lando, baby. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Summer of Oscar.
I mean, you could say he's got to get one at Monaco, but I don't think he does.
I just meant in general.
Yeah,
like, he's got to get one of these, right?
He will, unless Red Bull mounts this incredible comeback or Ferrari really mixes it up. He will, because they still have the best car. As long as he holds off his teammate. I mean, he did a great job getting around his teammate last weekend, but that was also, he was on a better tire. Now, I think Monaco has like such prestige for the dumbest reason. It has prestige because it's like an old race.
Yeah.
Like they've been racing there for decades upon decades. So like winning there matters more, but it's the worst race on the calendar. There's no racing.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just,
who knows? F1 has a weird way of surprising us.
Hungary gave us a lot of entertainment last year when we had the whole papaya rules. Think about all the Sunday morning meetings things. So,
Lando, think about your sweet puppy. What would your puppy say, Lando?
Woof. Woof, woof.
That's it for F1. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about the NFL, Nick, because we have some breaking news today. The tush push. We can continue to push those tushes right across the line into Super Bowl history. The tush push ban officially struck down. You needed 24 votes, right, from owners to... Was it owners?
Yes, owners.
You needed 24 votes from owners to ban the tush push. They got 22.
They got 22. The revolution has been squashed. Down with cowards. Down with...
The revolution
rebels.
will be televised, and it will be televised with grown men pushing each other into tushes.
Yes, the upheaval that was attempted did not pass. It came close. 22-10 is just 2 votes off, but it did not pass. The Eagles prevail and quickly go to social media to post a photo of them lining up for a tush push against the Packers, the team that proposed the banning of the tush push. It lives on for another year, but I do not think the fight is over, Sean.
I don't think so either.
Those who want it banned will dig in like World War I and attempt to win the war of attrition, and ultimately, I think they will prevail. Not now.
Can I ask you a question, Nick? Philosophically speaking, should it be banned?
Put my thinking cap on. I did go to the great institution known as Kent State.
And I know we can't read, we can't write, but we can decide on what to do with the tush push. I've been on this podcast before, and I've stated, I think it should be banned because I think it poses a risk to those who are in the bottom of that pile. Like, it does pose an inherent risk to those who are putting their bodies on the line. But at the same time, it's not quite the same as, like, the wedge block. It's not the same as these other plays that we've kind of outlawed because we're running at each other full speed. These are guys that are going to bang into each other regardless because, it's a 1-yard war in the line of scrimmage anyway.
That's football in every play.
Exactly. So does the tush push need to be banned? Should it be banned? Because just because one team, and I'm amazed that one team is so good at it and 31 others are like, well, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to push a guy across the line. What am I doing?
Well, that's why it was an interesting proposal to begin with, because the Bills did it a lot. They were, I think, the second most successful team. They also did it the second most often. But they put their own spin on it, which is they always went to the left side of the line, which is the stronger side of the line, and that got them screwed in the playoffs.
I was going to say, we all knew in the playoffs, hey, they're going to the left. Hey,
and
guys, hey, guys, they're going to the left, and they went to the left.
Load up the left side of the line. That's where it's going. They were one of the bigger supporters of this. Sean McDermott was. And the thing that always killed me was that they pointed to, the data says. There is no data that says it's a dangerous play. Go collect the data. If you want it banned, spend this next year collecting all the numbers in the world and
I've never seen someone taken off the field after a tush push with a torn ACL or a concussion or broken shoulder.
It'll only take one. It'll only take one gruesome injury for it to happen.
Honestly, Nick, if I'm being serious, I'm amazed it hasn't happened yet.
Because it's like a rugby scrum, but I also think that it's just it actually harkens back to the earliest days of football. We've talked about this on the show before, and we've made these points, but I do think it will be banned because eventually something will happen, because the likelihood that somebody gets hurt on any play in football just gets higher with more plays run. Like, it just does. And it's a high-speed game, and it's a collision of large men into each other, but I side with the Eagles in that if you don't like it, stop it. And if you can't stop it, that's on you.
I will.
And if you don't like it and you can't stop it, copy it, because it's a copycat league.
To quote Mike Tomlin, coach of my Pittsburgh Steelers, if you can't gain 1 yard in the NFL, you don't belong here. Reverse that if you can't stop a 1 yard gain, right? Like, we've had this for a couple of years. This isn't new. The Eagles have been doing this, 3 or 4 years now?
Yeah.
No one has been like, oh, hey, guys, I know how to stop that. Or at least like, hey, I know how we could attempt to stop it.
Well, you know why? Because it's the same principle that exists in football in every play, which is low man wins. And they get so damn low on that offensive line up front and then they just surge forward that they can't stop it.
Sorry,
to the window, to the wall.
To the wall.
So Jalen Hurts sneaks with the ball. All the other teams are mad. Oh, tush push, motherfucker. Oh, tush push, goddamn.
Is the cold open, folks.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad they didn't ban it. It'll get banned eventually.
The more I consider it, the more I'm glad that it is in the game, and I don't want one team to be punished. I don't want one team to be punished because they're good at something and no one else is. Like, just
let me explain to you this way.
You can't figure it out.
Yeah,
that's not my problem.
It's not a competition thing, Sean. They'll present it as a safety thing and a competition thing to try to justify it being banned. It's a product thing. It's a quality of product thing. The NFL collectively probably doesn't like that such an ugly play works so often, because it takes the intrigue out of a 4th and 1. It is not visually, it's not aesthetically pleasing. It does resemble a rugby scrum. It's not good for the quality of the product in terms of entertainment, and that's why people want it banned. Let's not make any bones about it.
The only thing I can liken it to is what if in baseball, a bunt got you a double every time? Like, how are guys getting on second base just by bunting the ball? Just
If an
other
entire
people
team
can't play their positions, right?
If an entire team bunted for singles and they bunted the bases loaded and bunted runs in, people would be pissed off. But the same response would apply. Stop it. Bring the infielders in. Stop it.
Stop giving the Eagles 4th and 1 situations. Stop giving them
And that's
short
really
yardage
the key.
situations.
Stop giving them those situations.
Yeah.
Make it a 4th and 5 in which that's not a viable option.
Exactly.
And,
the tush push doesn't work unless you have a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1.
Frankly, I like the way that it has had an effect on football because we see copycats of it at the professional and the collegiate levels, and then you get fun little wrinkles where the Browns tried this. I've seen this in college a lot, where they fake the tush push and they run a sweep around the end. And the first couple times the team did that, nobody was prepared for it, and it was a long touchdown. And that's a fun clip to watch online. It's fine.
You know who I would bet would love this, and God rest his soul, is my grandfather, who played football in the 40s, so, without a face mask. I bet he would love this. He would probably the wide receiver is going to take the sweep. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, he's just going to
hand. Here comes the end
never
around,
mind.
because back then they weren't receivers. They were just called ends, split ends.
My grandfather played the position of wing back, which
yes.
I don't know what that is.
Big fan of the power T.
Yeah. Great, power eye offense, whatever you want to call it. He ran the veer to perfection.
Yeah, go look up some of the all-time receiving leaders, and you'll see SE next to their name, split ends. Like a woman who needs to go to the salon. That was a dad joke.
Oh, goodness gracious. Anything else for the NFL, Nick? Oh, we do have to say, unfortunately, we do have some bad news to go along with this good news that the tush push has not been banned. Colts owner Jim Irsay passed away today. That was breaking news at the age of 65. I mean, a lot of mixed emotions around Jim Irsay, but at the same time, he was someone that kind of was a champion of football. Him and his family brought it to Indianapolis by taking it out of Baltimore, just like, it was taken out of Cleveland. Like, it's just, this is what football is, but he kind of, at least for me, always kind of seemed to be on the side of football. Not the NFL, not anything else. He just seemed to be on the side of football. So he'll be missed, and I'm sure Colts fans feel whatever way they do about him.
And his franchise hired Bill Polian, who constructed those Peyton Manning teams that ended up winning a Super Bowl and appearing in 2, and serving as an occasional foil to Tom Brady's Patriots, made for one of the great rivalries of that era, Brady versus Manning. A lot of that doesn't happen if the Irsay family doesn't pilot the Colts in the right direction. And, like you said, a champion of football, a family that owned that team.
Am I right to say that, though? Like,
head from here, but
he just seemed like he was on the side of football. As odd as he was at times, he was for football. Like, that's what I kind of always perceived him to be.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree. And he loved owning the Colts, and he was very passionate about the Colts. And unfortunately, his last few years, he wasn't in the best health, and he has passed at the too young age of 65. My dad was 63. Jim Irsay was 65. Way too young to die, but life is fleeting. So rest in peace to Jim Irsay. A couple more items to address. Playoff reseeding not happening this year, but it's something that the league is going to take a look at going into 2026. And I think a lot of this has to do with the schedule, because unlike the NBA where they introduced divisionless seeding, it was just all about overall record. They play a shitload of games, and in the NFL they don't. And you rotate, interconference opponents by year. One year the entire AFC North plays the entire NFC West. Like the schedules get unbalanced. There's strength of schedule differences. It's not a level playing field in that regard. So I understand the importance of winning the division, which also adds importance to the division games. You remove some of that, so they have to kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out how they're going to do this. But I do think it eventually becomes a reality, just not this year.
If there's anything to do with that,
No, go ahead.
Yes, get rid of the division versus division games. I'm fine with a division champion hosting a home playoff game. Winning your division should mean something. I still think that. At the same time, if I'm playing the entire, NFC East, gulp. If I'm playing the entire AFC South, oh, okay, that's fine, whatever. Like, if I have to go through the Jags, the Texans obviously are good, but if I have to go through the Jags, the Colts, and the Titans, oh, okay, check. Titans might be a little, or Texans might be a little tough. If I have to go through the AFC East, which the Giants aren't a gimme, then you have the Cowboys, the Commanders, and the Eagles. I'm like, oh crap, this is going to be tougher than I thought. Why do I need to sweat 4 weeks out of the year? Yes, I think we need to mix it up a little bit more. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think that'll matter. Hard Knocks is going to be with the Bills during training camp this year, which will be a very intriguing look at a perennial contender that has repeatedly fallen short of the game's greatest stage, and the in-season Hard Knocks will be with perhaps the most captivating division for a number of different reasons. The NFC East, featuring the defending Super Bowl champions, the upstart Washington Commanders, the always buzzy Dallas Cowboys, and the Giants, whose regime is coaching and leading, making moves for their jobs this season with as many quarterbacks as you can get outside of the Cleveland Browns on their roster. So that'll be fun as well. Sean, do you have any gripes? Yeah, there you go.
How many quarterbacks do you have now? Good God. 5
if you count Deshaun Watson, but nobody counts Deshaun Watson. Do you have any thoughts about the Bills or the NFC East on Hard Knocks? Do you care about Hard Knocks anymore?
I have not watched Hard Knocks since the Steelers started losing last season.
Oh, so you watched it recently?
I watched the in-season tournament, or not the in-season tournament, sorry, this NBA. I watched the in-season Hard Knocks, and I was like, oh yeah, I was like, this is cool. And then the Steelers started losing, and I was like, I don't really want to relive that. In my leisure time, I don't want to relive what I had to suffer through on Sunday.
Browns fans felt?
I don't care. I don't
They're
care.
3-14.
I don't give a shit. There's my one cuss word for the weekend.
Congrats. I have about 4 more than you this week. What else? Onside kicks can now occur at any time as long as you are trailing. You still have to declare, I do declare that I'm going to onside kick. They should still get rid of it and replace it with a 4th and 16 in their own 20. I don't know why they keep messing around with this, but and it's 1 yard shorter. So instead of 10 yards, you got to go 9 yards. So that's cool.
I love an onside kick. Figure it out. The game of football is not as, I don't know, I feel like people can figure this stuff out and they haven't yet. That's weird to me. I watch football and I go, why hasn't someone figured out a way to do that yet? We've been playing this game for 100 years. Over 100 years.
They figured it out so much that they know how to prevent it.
Well, no.
And that's why it's ineffective.
Yeah, fair point.
There was a time when it was fairly effective, and now it's not. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up.
For Nick Shook, I'm Sean Barry. Thank you for listening to episode 71, the Evgeny Malkin, Gino, I Am Score episode of the Gridiron Podcast. If you'd like to reach out to us on social media, you can on Instagram at GridironPod. That is at GridironPod. And then on email or via email at on email. If you want to email us at thegridironpodcast3, number 3. That's thegridironpodcast, number 3. Damn those other 2. At gmail.com. For Nick Shook, the absent Katie Caldwell, Canadian Queen, I am Sean Barry. Come on, you Spurs. We'll see you next week.
YouTube.com/@gridironpod. Check us out there. All your favorite podcast platforms. And last but not least,
Nick always has to get the last word in.
Go Flashes. Good night, everybody.
Go Spurs.